is ESG. Ludo just mentioned that, and especially institutional investors are looking to increasingly looking to apply their ESG principles to the portfolios. Mark, how important is ESG for Blue Sky Group, and how do you put this in practice in private equity? And lastly, has this pandemic sharpened your focus on corporate and social responsibility?
So first of all, ESG has become more important in the last couple of years for our clients, and hence we have to implement it across the asset class. But here's the challenging one: as we invest globally, I think it were the Dutch and it were the Nordics that pushed for LPs, that pushed for ESG measurements within private equity. I think the large cap managers, they started implementing that rather quickly. But if I travel, when it was still possible to travel in the US, and you meet mid-market managers locally who only have US investors, last couple of years, a lot of people, first of all, they raised their eyebrows. Okay, what are you asking for? ESG. No, we're not a UNPRI signatory, for instance. But then you go in depth what you're looking for, and then they say, no, listen, we don't call it ESG. We've done so, and it's part of our due diligence on a portfolio company, but we never labeled it as ESG. So personally, I think that the industry is further ahead than a lot of people think. But yeah, indeed, private equity is, I think, the asset class where ESG can be implemented actively due to the way GPs run their portfolio companies. But it's a dialogue we constantly have, but it's also a dialogue you have to monitor, and you have to keep guidance to your clients as well, because not all managers, particularly the smaller ones, are, for instance, UNPRI signatory, because it does come with a lot of compliance.
Greg, let's get you back now, because I have a similar question to you as well. I think it is safe to say that APG has always been at the forefront of applying their APG ESG principles to their investment process. Can you tell us about how you put your and your clients' ESG ambitions to work in private equity, and also if this has changed, if at all, throughout the pandemic?
It's a great question. APG does want to be, we try to be one of the leaders when it comes to private equity and responsible investment guidelines in the asset class. We continually look to, move the goalpost actually for our clients to make it harder, make it more and more difficult to add things to our goalpost and what we expect from our private equity managers. We were one of the early people to push for diversity reporting from our GPs. We're also adding quite a bit now on the climate risk policy, making sure our GPs are thinking about climate risk in all of their investments, even though in PE, the hold periods tend to be less than 5 to 6 years. We want our GPs to think about the climate risk, even if it might affect those companies longer than their hold period. So those are some things we've been adding in the last year, especially is on climate risk. We have actually passed on and not re-up with many managers that didn't evolve with our ESG program. We've had strong performing managers, mainly in the non-European arena. So in the US and Asia, ESG is evolving a little bit slower, and even though managers, we think they're paying attention to ESG, we expect reporting on KPIs from our managers on each company when it comes to ESG, and some people aren't evolving that quickly. We don't require UNPRI signatory, but we do expect them to report on ESG at their portfolio companies, ESG incidents, any reputational incidents to us, and some managers just aren't moving that quickly. So we have had to pass on several managers, especially in the mid-market across the US and Asia, that were very strong performing funds, but that's just a seriousness that our clients want us to take when it comes to ESG. Hopefully those managers will come back, and improve their ESG standards over time to match ours, but APG is not standing still when it comes to ESG issues. And like I mentioned, climate risk is one of the newer ones we're pushing very hard now for GPs to think about.
Thanks, Greg. Well, I think enough backward looking for now. Let's now focus on the future and economic recovery. And Ludo, I would like to get